Hello, everyone. Welcome or welcome back to I See Melanie. Today we're talking about the fourth episode of All's Fair. So I just did a video talking about episodes 1 through 3, just kind of talking about the overall theme of the show. And now I'll be talking about episode 4. Admittedly, this video is probably going to be kind of short because I found this episode to be kind of thin in its substance, but we'll talk about what we'll talk about, okay? And trigger warning, this is going to be talking about violence and SA, so you probably know that because that's what the show was about. So just be warned, because quite frankly, I feel as though the warning that I got when I watched the show wasn't very accurate, because there was the thing said that there was, I don't know, like smoking or like drinking or whatever, and it said explicit sexual activity, which had to do with the couple in that case, and they mentioned violence, but I feel as though they should have mentioned implied SA, because when those scenes came up, I was just a little taken aback, and as if somebody else, went through this, that would be very triggering for them. So I thought it was kind of irresponsible. I don't know. It could be my Disney Plus here in Canada that didn't have the proper warnings. You might have it on your Hulu in the States for the Americans watching. But yeah, they should have given a trigger warning. So I'm doing that right now. So this one is focused on Emerald. And so in the first 3 episodes, when I watched it and when I did my review, when I wrote my review based on those first 3 episodes, I mentioned that Emerald was kind of personified as this strong black woman who she can do anything, and she's there to lift other people up, but nobody's really there to support her. But she can do everything on her own, so she doesn't need support from other people. Like, that's how I read her personality, her character. But we see that kind of change today in this episode. So, okay, so she's talking about, again, we start off with her having her dinner by herself. She likes it that way. Her sons come in. She's like, go away. I'm having my alone time. And then later on, we see them in their library, their lunchroom. And side note, whenever I see them in that room, it reminds me of the Golden Girls out on the lanai or in the the table in the kitchen eating a cheesecake. But anyway, so they're talking, and when they mentioned about some event with singles, and she begrudgingly goes. And she goes there. Her sons are all excited that she's going to, put herself out there. She goes there. She meets this nice looking man. He offers her a drink, an amaretto sour. And side note, I thought amaretto sours were for like 20-year-olds. Like when I was in my 20s, an amaretto sour, or even worse, an amaretto and Coke. Those were my go-to cocktail drinks. So I kind of took me back when I heard that reference. I mean, that's not important. So she does this. We see her looking kind of groggy. And then later on, we see her. She's in bed. Her pantyhose are ripped up. Her knees, her legs are bloody. And we learn that she has been assaulted by a man. She can't remember things, so she doesn't know exactly what happened. She doesn't know if she was SA'd per se. I'm assuming that's what happened, but she knew she was, beaten up by this guy. And of course, she's traumatized. She goes to the hospital and she calls Allura. At first, she starts off by talking about, oh, the necklace that you suggested I get, it's broken. But then she breaks down and she calls her over and then she tells her like what actually happened, right? So now we see that she does have the support. She is not the backbone for everybody else. She is not the support system. They're giving her support as well. And now, referring back to Kim's acting, again, her reactions are so even-keeled. They're so flat for things that she, as a friend who's extremely mad that this happened to her friend, her delivery when she says, oh, we're going to get that guy, it's so flat still. It's like, oh my gosh, you should have directed her. You should have made her do a few more takes because it was just really, really bad.
We will not let this go. Justice will be served one way or the other.
So we know what happens. I don't need to recap everything, but we do know that, they locate the man, they get evidence to figure out where he lives, and they figure out that he knew Glenn Close's character through his father, and they suspect that they used Emerald to get to Glenn Close. Like, who knows if that's actually the case? It could be. And we see her lash out to Glenn because, if they hadn't suggested that she go to this mixer, she wouldn't have been in this situation. And she realizes that, like, obviously Glenn Close didn't know this was going to happen. But she's very upset right now. Her feelings are heightened. That makes sense. We learn that that guy, we suspect that he's killed himself. He's been killed by a bullet. By who, we don't know exactly. And so we'll see. And with that storyline, I guess, we have to wait and see how things unfold. But one thing I'll say about Emerald and her character, like aside from the story of the incident that happened to her, it's kind of, I don't know. Sometimes I find the writing to be just really off. Like, she talks to her sons like they are 5-year-olds, And again, I am not a mother of triplet, teenage boys that are like 1,000 feet tall. So I don't know, what that's like. But the way she interacts with them, she acts as though like they're just like creating messes all the time, when in reality, like, they live in a mansion. They have a chef there. I don't think she's cooking for herself all the time or cooking for them all the time, because she's busy working and she has, everything available to her. She got a chef there. So she acts as though she's like living in a small apartment with these big men boys, these big boys, these big teenage sons. So I think it's kind of like, the trope, like the busy mom who doesn't want the kids messing with her space. It doesn't really match, because they aren't a normal family. They're a rich family. So it's just kind of weird. I don't know. The sons seem nice. The one son in particular, with the cornrows, he seems to be a bit more sensitive or more attuned to her feelings. So, it's nice that she's got these kids who are, good kids. And one thing I always say, I've mentioned in the past on this channel, that like so many times when you watch TV shows where they're, teenagers or kids in their young 20s, they're always so rude to their parents. And I find that so off-putting. But these are nice young men and they treat her with respect. So I love that element of the show. But yeah, the dynamics and how she treats them is like, yeah, you're rich. You don't have some of these problems. So why do you act as though you do? And another thing, going back to the cases. In the last video, I mentioned how the cases are very open and shut. They're not that interesting. And so this case here is a situation where a woman's married to a man, and since before they got married, she said she didn't want children. And throughout their marriage, the man kept on saying, I want a baby, I want a baby, but she didn't want one, and that put a strain on their marriage until now. She looks like she's in her 50s, maybe 60, and now they're finally getting divorced. And so he wants, support, because he was with her throughout her rise, and he's, entitled to that, but he wanted extra money because apparently she had an abortion a while back. And so he wants, punitive damages because she inflicted pain on him. But he drops it because he has a new girlfriend, and that girlfriend's pregnant, and the woman's relieved. And so, again, kind of going back to this whole theme about like girl boss and women doing it for themselves, like defining their own path, and no one can tell me what I can do with my body. All those things are right. Again, don't get it twisted. I think all those things are right and good. But it's just the way it's presented in these cases. It's so like, like what cliches can we bring out? And what can we say to empower women? And another thing, like, it did not really jive to me. Because for one, that woman said that she didn't want a baby before they got married, when they were in their 20s or like early 30s, with the other actor playing her. And then like in her 40s and 50s, she still didn't want a baby. But it's like, and she said, there's one thing I couldn't give him, and that was a child. I think that people getting married or getting committed to each other, deciding on whether or not you want to have a kid, that's not a little thing. That's a huge thing. So even the very fact that they got married when they knew that there was this big divide between them in relation to what they wanted in their life, but that's not a little thing at all. And, I don't know, like if I knew somebody didn't want to have children, and I knew somebody did want to have children and I didn't, I wouldn't get married to them and be with them for years and years and years and decades, because yeah, she went from being, let's say, 30 to almost 60. So if he resented her this entire time. Like, first of all, why are you even together, both of you? You could have chosen to leave a long time ago. Because yeah, not wanting to have a kid is not a small thing. So yeah, until she was relieved, and now he can have what he wanted, and so he's good. And so it's like, again, these cases, they need to do more with them. They need to do more with them. And oh, I think I forgot this in the my description of episode 3. So we know that Kim Kardashian or Alora got implanted with the embryo. She lied. She forged her husband's signature. So that's, I'm going to see how that plays out eventually. And so I guess she thinks she might be pregnant now. Who knows? But that lady mentioned, like, oh no, some of us aren't meant to be mothers. And we see a Kim or a Laura like give a face. So I guess we'll see. And then, Sarah Paulson. Sarah Paulson's lines, they really do, they're entertaining. But oh my gosh, she is like a wrecking ball. And like, I couldn't imagine dealing with somebody like her. Um, so yeah, this episode was like, okay. Um, I have to admit though, these episodes don't have all that much substance, and or they're not very well executed. I don't think so. And so I find myself, I don't really have too much to say about this episode. It was very thin in substance. So with that being said, I'll finish watching this show until the end because I do like watching train wrecks sometimes. I think I'm going to make this my treadmill show. So I have shows that I just watch on the treadmill because I I need to be doing something productive when I'm watching a show that's not very good, right? So I will continue watching this. In terms of videos reacting to it, I don't know if I'll continue just because there's not much substance to these shows. And you know me, like, I don't like to recap stories of episodes. I like to analyze them, but I don't think there's much meat on this bone. So, and I don't want to come here and just trash talk and hate watch and be negative because I don't think that's productive for anybody. So we'll see. I will definitely come back to talk about episode 5. If I find episode 5 is of no real substance, then I'll probably stop reviewing the show. Again, I will watch everything, so if episode 6 is really good, then you'll see me pop up here again. But at this rate, I don't think I'll be talking about this much longer because there's not much there. I don't know. Like, what do you guys think? Again, like, I don't think this is like the worst show in the world. I just don't think it's very good. I don't think it's very timely. I don't think it's very interesting. I don't think it's very nuanced. And I don't think the acting is all that great. Even like Niecy Nash, like, I know she can act. I've seen her act before. But I feel as though the storyline and maybe the direction and like sometimes the hokey language or the dialogue, everything's so cliche. Like, there's not much there. So we'll see. Anyway, I have other things planned. So you'll see Melanie soon. But yeah, leave your comments in the comments box. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, I'll be back here on this channel to talk about something, okay? I'll see you all later. Bye.